Hello, today we are going to be learning about how to solve systems of equations using graphs and tables. Next. So the first part we're going to do is learning how to use a graph to solve systems of equations. These are your steps. We first have to place a linear equation into slope-intercept form. And then we have to graph the lines and use the graph to find out the common point. We check the answers and present it as an ordered pair. Next. So this is our first example. Our two equations are already in slope-intercept form, so we don't need to do anything. But what we do need to do is we have to graph it still. So we have our slope. Oops. So we have for this our first equations. We have our slope as 2. What we really need is just 2, but yeah. And then our second equation, our slope is 1, because in front of the x is usually just a 1. And then our y-intercepts, our b's, we have 2 for our first equation. And for our second equation, we have a -1. So how we would graph this is first we would graph our slope. So going to our second, we are going to graph our 2 and our -1. So our 2 would be here. So we're just going to do like 1 first. So we're going to do our first equation first, meaning we're going to be using our m1 and our b1. So our slope here is 2. So we're just going to graph the 2. And then to put this, we're going to do it as a rise over run. So we're going to turn our slope into a fraction by just adding a 1. So our rise is 2. So I'll go up by 2. And then run would be 1. And this is our second point. And then we can do the same by going down twice, and then moving 1 to the side. And this would be our second point. And then you just keep doing that until we get like a straight line. And yeah, we go up by 2 and over by 1, up by 2, over by 1, up by 2, over by 1. And then for this, we did down 1, down 1, down 2, over 1, down 2, over 1, down 2, over 1, down 2, over 1. So essentially, every edge here is 1 point. And this would turn into one line, a straight line. I am going to try to draw a line. Oh, that's not how, oh, I don't know how to do it. oh. Oh no. Wait, how do I use this work? That works. So that is our line. I'm just going to redraw the points. So that is so this line is our first equation. Now we're going to go on to our second equation, like we did for the first one. We're going to turn this into our fraction, and we're going to graph this our y-intercept, which is -1, and then our we don't these two. So our slope is 1 over 1. And how we do that is go up by 1, and go to the right, go over by 1, and we just keep doing that. Essentially, you're just creating stairs. Go up, go over by 1, go up, go over by 1, go up and go over by 1, and do the same. And yeah, and again, it's going to create a line with all of these points. And now, sorry, it's a little messy. I'm going to stamp our intersecting point from our two equations, which is right where the heart is. And this point is -3, -4. So this is our answer because it's intersecting. Next. So for this equation, we have to change our equations into slope-intercept form. How you would do that is, so we're just going to do this first one first. Hold on. All right. So you would first, I'm just going to rewrite the equation. And now we are going to transpose our 2x over to this side. So it'll be negative y left on one side, negative 2x, negative 6. And now we have to divide on both sides, -3 for all of our numbers. So we can have y on one side alone, and the rest of these and this would be turned into a positive because two negatives divided together would be turned into a positive. And same with this, except this would be +2. So we have one of our points, which I'm just going to graph. Our y-intercept is 2, so I'm just going to graph 2 for now. And now we're going to do the same thing with our second equation. I'm just going to rewrite it. And we're going to transpose our 8 to the other side. I mean our x to the other side, not 8. There's no 8. And it'll turn into a negative x. Or I can think of it as negative 1x. And our 3 stays the same. And now we are going to divide everything with 3 to get y alone. And our remaining would be -1 over, well, wait, let me write this better. It would be negative and x, and this would be -1. I'm gonna, okay, anyways. How we would do this is from our, so we're gonna go back to our first equation, because now we have both equation in slope-intercept form. Our, this equation that I put in parentheses, we're gonna graph that one first. So this, we're gonna use our slope again. It would be 2 rise and 3 over, or run. So from our not slope-intercept, our y-intercept, we would go up 2 and run over 3. And this would be our next point, and we just keep doing that. Wait, that's not 3. Run over 3, and then graph. and then up 2, and then 3 over, another point, 2 up, 3 over, another point. And then for this, we could also go down by doing 3 over, 2 down. 3 over, 2 down, 3 over, 2 down. And we're just going to graph all these points. And I'm going to put a line to mark it. And now we are going to graph our second, this slope intercept point, which is 1 over, not 1 over, 1 up or down, and then 3 over. And but first we're going to graph our y-intercept, which is -1. And from here, we go up or down 1, and 3 over, and then 1 down, 3 over, 1 down, 3 over. Then we go 1 up, 3 over, 1 up, 3 over, 1 up, 3 over. And now I'm just going to mark all the points in which you get the edge of a stair, essentially. And I'm going to put a line through all my points. Wait, I need, oops, undo. Okay. Yeah. And then our intersecting point here is, that's still red. Oh my god. Here. Okay, now you're not working. Thanks. That point, which is -3, 0. And that would be our answer. Yeah. Next. And now your turn. If you don't have graph paper, you could find charts of graph paper online, or you can use our next method into finding our 2 points using tables.
So for this step, you would need a graphing calculator, and you would press, first you turn your calculator on, you press y equals, and then it should show different colors, and there should be y1, y2, y3, y4, and then you just plug in the equation. So second, you would make a table with x and y. You could start the x value of 0. And lastly, you just find a solution where you can go to the table that's on the calculator by pressing second graph, which gives you the table already made. And you could just scroll for it. So here, all you would do is turn my calculator on, press y equals, plug in -5x plus 11. And then on the second row, y2, I would plug in 7x minus 25 and then press graph. And it's going to be graphing. You'll see on the top right next to the battery, it'll have a yellow loading signal. And once that's done, you could press second graph, which will give you a table, and you would just plug it in. So just annotate this. So here on the table, you can find by looking at the x column, and then if you look at y1, y2, they're right next to each other. So you can just look across and see which x value would have the same y values. So I guess you could start with 1 if you want to. It's really unnecessary, but, uh so y1 is 11, y2 is negative 25. 1, it has y1 for 6, y2 would be negative 18. For x value of 2, y1 would be 1, y2 would be negative 11. For x value 3, y1 would be negative 4, y2 would be negative 4, and you found your point where they both intersect right here. So the coordinate would be positive 3 comma negative 4 as the y value. Moving on to the next page. So it's really the same thing. So press graph again and then press clear in order to erase it. Then press y equals 2. Press clear to erase your previous equations and plug in your new ones. So for y1, I'll be plugging in 2x plus 1. And then for y2, I would be plugging in x minus 5. If you want to go to y2, you could just press the down arrow. And now that I have both of them in, I'll press graph. And right now it's loading, as you can see from the upper right-hand corner with the yellow loading sign. Once it finishes, you just press second graph. You basically do the same thing you did last time. You just look across the values to see if any of them are the same. So right here, I can already see when x is equal to negative 6, both of the y values will be equal to negative 11. So I'll just draw what the chart looks like on my screen. It's over here. So for negative a, y1 would be negative 15. Y2 will be negative 13. For x is equal to 7, y1 will be negative 13, y2 will be negative 12. And finally, as I said previously, negative 6 both will equal to negative 11. So you found your coordinate that's intersecting. So your x value would be negative 6, and the intersecting point will be negative 11. That is your final answer. So this is your turn. You could just draw a table out on a piece of loose leaf or copy paper or anything. You could pause the video to look at the equations. So what we learned today was how to use it by graphing and using tabling. For table, we learned how to do it on a graphing calculator. So that's really just it for today. Have a happy Halloween tomorrow.
Oh, also, if you don't have a graphing calculator available at home, you could search one up online, and they have online graphing calculators.
There is an app on the App Store that I know is TI-84. This app, you could just download it, and it's basically the real calculator but on your phone, and it works the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, happy Halloween.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.